Well, first of all, the Bible tells us about a blind man on the road to Jericho. He heard Jesus was coming by. He had sat by the road begging, blind from birth. Nobody wanted to help him. But he heard Jesus was coming this way. And you know what? The blind man couldn't see him coming, but he heard he was coming. His ears had become his eyes, and he knew Jesus was coming. I know a little bit about that. My grandpa Jarvis, this is just for them, at Horse Creek, Pigeon Roost, up Jarvis Branch. They know exactly what I'm talking about. I would go from Hamilton, Ohio, to see my grandpa Jarvis, who was blind. I was only a little boy. And I would go in his bedroom, and I'd hear stories from my pap tell me what happened back in the days of horses and buggies and Indians. Man, I would just sit there on the edge of the seat. And up Jarvis Branch, for y'all folks from lower Alabama, that's up a holler. Now, if you're from North Alabama, you know what a holler is. And if I'm lying, I'm dying. You better not go up a holler if your name ain't Jarvis or Curry. You better not go up Curry Branch unless you're related to somebody up Curry Branch. You better not go up Jarvis Branch unless you're related to the Jarvises, or you probably won't come back alive. Where they're from, back when I was a kid, they'd have a new sheriff about every 6 months. He didn't quit. They just killed him. That's how mean they were. Harlan County, Kentucky is one of the meanest counties in the world. It's the only county in America that the mob was afraid to go into. There's TV shows about it now on television, about Harlan County, Kentucky. But I was a Jarvis, so I could go up Jarvis Branch, because my pap lived up there. I had free passage. But I would sit there in his bedroom, and how many of you know that little boys' attention span are real short? How many of you know some big boys' attention span is real short? They say the older you get, it starts expanding, and then when you get to a certain age, it starts going back the other way. So I'll hurry and close. But I would sit there and listen to him tell stuff, and he would hardly take a breath, Pastor Smith. But all of a sudden, one of my cousins would ride by on a pony. And I'd think, oh, I got to get out of here and ride the pony, but I don't want to hurt Pap's feelings. And I'd sit there a little bit longer. Another 10 minutes would go by, and he's just talking. Hardly taking a breath. He's blind. And let me mention this. He's 94 years old. Somebody's trying to steal my message over here. And I would think, I got to get out of here. But I don't want to hurt his feelings. And then another cousin would ride by on a dirt bike climbing the mountains. And I'd think, oh, I got to get out of here, but I can't hurt Pat's feelings. So I would slip off my tennis shoes into my sock feet. And I would take one step towards the door and I'd stop. And he'd just keep talking. He's 94 and he's blind. He's not going to know I'm leaving. It'd take me 15 minutes to get to the door. And my sock feet. I wasn't big and fat then, so I didn't creak the floor. And I'd start to get to the door with my shoes in my hand and start to take the last step and go. And my grandpa would stop in mid-sentence. He's 94 and he's blind. He's been going 20 minutes, hardly taking a breath. I'm glad it blessed you. And he would stop in mid-sentence, and this is what he'd say, Pastor. Go ahead, son. I know you get tired of hearing the tales of an old man. And I'm standing there going, 15 minutes to get here. He's 94 and he's blind. How did he know I'm going out the door? I hadn't said a word. I was just about 7 or 8, and I'd asked my dad, and Dad said, son, Pap, his ears have become his eyes. Because he hears things that you and I don't even pick up on. You see, he knows what's going on around him because of what he hears that you and I don't pick up on. Well, there's a blind man on the road to Jericho. His ears have become his eyes. He heard the man that turned the water into wine is coming that way. He heard the man that walked on the water is coming that way. And when he thought that Jesus was close enough to where he was, all of a sudden he started saying, Jesus, thou son of David, have mercy on me. And you would think the crowd would cheer him on. But no. He's been blind all of his life. You think the people want to see him healed. The crowd turned around and said, blind man, hold your peace. Why don't you be quiet? Why don't you shut up? There's always going to be a crowd of peer pressure that's going to tell you not to raise your voice. Don't cry out to God. Don't worship. Just be quiet and shut up. If that would have been most of us, we'd have just sat there and sulked and been hurt. But you know what the blind man said? I'm not shutting up. The blind man healer's right over there somewhere. And there's a blessing if I'll keep on pressing.